Look at this screen. This isn't just a presentation, it's a battle map. While most investors are chasing AI chips and software, two giants in the $1.2 trillion wood industry are heading toward a collision that will redefine how we build our homes. One company looks solid, but we found a hole in their pocket the size of a crater. The other is sitting on a mountain of cash, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Welcome to the Great Convergence 2026. I'm your lead analyst from HDIN Research, and today, we're going to find out who's actually winning the wood war. Let's cut the jargon. In simple terms, LPX has enough spare change in the bank to buy every person in New York a Tesla. We're talking $1 billion in liquidity. Meanwhile, WFP is playing a game of survival. Imagine trying to run a marathon, but for every mile you run, the government takes 35% of your oxygen. That's their tariff situation. LPX is building a moat. WFP is trying to stop the bleeding. The core question for 2026? Does having a big wallet beat having the best trees? WFP is currently stuck in what I call a cash prison. They have $283 million sitting in the US Treasury. They can't touch it, they can't spend it, and it's not earning them a dime. It's like having a winning lottery ticket that you aren't allowed to cash for 5 years. While their logs are getting more expensive to harvest in BC, this locked cash is a massive weight around their neck. It's not just a tax, it's a liquidity crisis masquerading as a trade dispute. LPX has pulled off the ultimate magic trick. They've turned a commodity into a luxury brand. They don't just sell wood panels, they sell the expert finish lifestyle. While the rest of the market is crying about house prices, LPX's siding business is thriving because half of their customers are just fixing up their old homes. They've essentially built a wall around their profits that the housing cycle can't knock down. If LPX was a tech company, they'd be the Apple of siding, proprietary, premium, and very hard to quit. Look at these bars. The dark blue represents the high-margin stuff, the products that actually make money. LPX is already at 62%. They've crossed the finish line. WFP is at 52%, and they're desperately trying to push that higher by building new kilns. But here's the kicker. WFP is still chasing volume, while LPX is chasing value. It's the difference between selling 1,000 cheap watches or 10 Rolexes. In a recession, you want to be the guy with the Rolexes. This waterfall chart tells a brutal story. See that massive blue block? That's siding. It's the hero of the story. See those red drops? That's everything else trying to drown the company. OSB, the stuff everyone used to care about, is now barely a footnote. It's basically just keeping the lights on. LPX is a one-engine plane right now, but luckily, that engine is a turbojet. If siding ever falters, there's no parachute. But for now, the jet is flying high. Forget labor costs. The new monster under the bed is the electricity bill. WFP's costs jumped 8% just because energy got expensive. In 2026, a sawmill is basically a giant computer that eats electricity and spits out boards. LPX is fighting back with AI to predict when machines will break before they actually do. If you're not using data to save power, you're not in the lumber business anymore. You're just an expensive way to turn trees into sawdust. In British Columbia, you can own all the trees you want, but if the local communities don't like you, you aren't cutting a single one. WFP has realized that social license is a real asset. By partnering with the First Nations, they aren't just being good citizens, they're securing their raw materials for the next 50 years. It's a social moat. While other companies are tied up in court, WFP is in the forest. It's the most expensive insurance policy in the world, but it might be the only one that works. Look at the divergence here. LPX is on the offensive. They're spending $400 million like they're playing Monopoly. They're building, expanding, and eyeing M&A. WFP? They're in a defensive crouch, spending just enough to keep the machines from rusting. It's a tale of two balance sheets. One is a war chest, the other is a survival kit. By 2026, this gap will determine who dictates the market price and who just follows it. ESG used to be a nice-to-have. Now it's a must-have to stay on the shelf. LPX's siding is actually carbon negative. Think about that. Using their product is literally better for the planet than not building at all. That's not just marketing. That's a 10% price premium. WFP is doing great work with Indigenous partners, but LPX has turned green into gold. In 2026, if your product doesn't save the planet, it's going to cost you a fortune in carbon taxes. This radar chart shows the DNA of both companies. LPX is a powerhouse in brand and cash. They're built for the sprint. WFP? They have the resources, the legendary Western red cedar, but they're lacking the financial muscles to flex. My take: if you're looking for a winner in 2026, follow the money and the brand. But if you're playing the long game, the 20-year game, don't count out the guy who owns the rarest trees on Earth. Final verdict time. LPX is what we call a quality moat. It's boring, it's solid, and it's sitting on a pile of cash. It's the safe bet for a shaky economy. WFP is a speculative recovery play. It's for the gamblers who believe the US-Canada trade war will end tomorrow. One is a fortress, the other is a lottery ticket. At HDIN Research, we prefer the fortress. But hey, some people like the thrill of the lottery. Strategy isn't about having all the answers, it's about asking the right questions before the market does. We've just scratched the surface of our 200-page sector deep dive. If you want the full data set, the secret numbers, and the 5-year forecast, you know where to find us. Reach out to sales at hdinresearch.com. I'm your analyst, and this was your 2026 roadmap. Don't just watch the market, master it.